to ICRIER. We started this partnership with Hudco to do some collective thinking. And just as we bring Mr. Baligar and other Hudco friends to ICRIER, very often we also go there when they have their brainstorming. So this is a partnership that we value a great deal. And this is a seminar which our Hudco professor, Professor Meenu Tiwari, will tell you about the context of the seminar and where we are heading. Our director, Dr. Ajit Kathuria, who is here, may also want to say a few things, and then we will get on with the so I really want to welcome all of you. I must say that Mr. Spolia had actually got me to change the date of this seminar from last Tuesday because he was very keen. But as you know, the fate of government officials, that they can, as they say, man proposes, God disposes. In your case, civil servant proposes and the ministers dispose. So we'll have to live with that and hope that he can still make it. Maybe our director wants to say something before Hudco Professor Meenu Tiwari speaks to you.
Thank you, Dr. Ahluwalia. I welcome all of you here, and as the chairperson said, apologize for the delay, which is not been in our hands. Chairman and Managing Director of Hudco, Mr. Baligar, Chair of the High-Powered Committee, HPEC on Urban Infrastructure and Services, and Chairperson ICRIER, Dr. Ishar Ahluwalia, Hudco Chair Professor, Dr. Meenu Tiwari, and ICRIER's young and dynamic team that you see sitting around here, and of course, all distinguished guests. It's with great pleasure and immense pride that I welcome all of you to the first knowledge dissemination of ICRIER's Hudco Chair project under the aegis of the Hudco ICRIER Chair Program. As you know, the chair is occupied by Professor Meenu Tiwari. Thank you, Meenu, for occupying this chair, and also ably supported by a young and dynamic team at ICRIER. I'll just tell you, mention a few things about ICRIER. Most of you are familiar with ICRIER. Just mention a few things about ICRIER, which some of you might not be aware of. As we celebrate about 30 years at the forefront of policy making, all of us here, including the chairperson, would fondly recall the initial years of ICRIER and the vision with which it was established way back in 1981. So it's been, as I was telling Mr. Goyal, it's been about more than 30 years since we've been around. And it was the first think tank at that time that was established with the purpose of providing a robust and analytical basis for policy making as India integrated with the global economy. And we continue to engage now with the global economy. It's been 10 years since then. And India has now, as you know, adopted the liberal model. As some people will say, not far enough, but we have adopted the liberal model, and we believe that ICRIER's contribution in shaping the policy discourse during this interim must have been substantial. And that was the purpose for which ICRIER, as I said, was created. And as the Indian economy grows now and changes in character, our research themes attempt to reflect that change in character. And as all of you, I don't need to mention this to all of you, you're all persuaded on the importance of urbanization, but urbanization is this new focus area, new theme that we are engaging in ICRIER. And we hope that through the substantial work that we have currently started on urbanization, we are able to shape the policy discourse on urbanization in the coming years, just as we have done earlier with respect to the strategic aspects of India's economic relations, not to mention in several other areas. To economists from most countries, the magnitudes of the challenges that India poses always is a daunting task, perhaps if you leave aside China. And urbanization is one of the biggest such challenges in terms of magnitudes. And I was looking at the HPEC report, and all the numbers are there. Just to quote two that stand out, 600 million people will live in cities by 2031. That itself is a great challenge. And 75% of the GDP will originate in urban areas. Migration, congestion, land, water, energy, housing, to name a few, will pose colossal challenges, immense challenges for India and for policymakers. So what we've done in ICRIER is that, building on the chairperson's work on HPEC, ICRIER has launched its urbanization program, a research theme around urbanization. And there are 4 such programs that are running concurrently in ICRIER today. And all of them build on our core competence, which is research, capacity building, and of course knowledge dissemination. All of them, they complement each other. And there are several sub-themes, and as I said, all of you are well aware of those themes, sub-themes. Just let me mention, for the interest of those who may not know, water treatment and solid waste management, unlocking urban land value, municipal finance, governance, administration reforms, land use, zoning, sustainable project management and implementation, e-governance. Right, so these are the sub-themes that we will engage with in the research and capacity building around the urbanization theme. Besides, ICRIER is also engaged in a major project on competitiveness of cities and the associated impacts of adaptation to climate change. So competitiveness of cities is also an important theme. So in this background of the enormous work that is going on in urbanization, the Hudco chair was launched in 2012 and complements, as I said, the other research that is currently being undertaken in ICRIER in this area. The chair has 4 components, as Minu will tell you more about. There's a seminar series, ICRIER Hudco seminar series. There's capacity building workshops, research and key themes, and workshops to disseminate the findings of the HPEC report in select cities. Today is one such workshop. We are very pleased to be the recipients of the Hudco Chair on Urbanization. We appreciate the industrious efforts of our chairperson, Dr. Ahluwalia, Professor Minu Tiwari, and as I said, the young and dynamic team at ICRIER, which we're very fortunate to have, in providing a fillip to this key and vital theme of urbanization. To Hudco and the Chairman and Managing Director, Mr. V.P. Baligar, we are really grateful that you chose ICRIER to institute this chair. And I assure you, by doing this, that you will be very happy that you did so. Thank you for coming, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kathuria. I wanted to join Dr. Ahluwalia, Chairperson ICRIER and Chair of the HPEC, the High-Powered Expert Committee on Urban Investment, and Dr. Rajat Kathuria, Director ICRIER, to welcome everybody here, all our eminent guests, Dr. Baligar, and others of you who are engaged in the everyday world of urban management here in Delhi, and colleagues from other institutions. As Dr. Kathuria mentioned, this is ICRIER's first knowledge dissemination workshop under the Hudco Chair program, which we were delighted to receive. And the objective of the workshop is twofold. Dr. Kathuria has mentioned a number of things about the urbanization program, so I'll be brief about that. The first objective was to share the findings of the widely acclaimed findings of the 2011 HPEC report on urban investment in infrastructure and basic services in India, that Dr. Ahluwalia was the chair of. She was the chair and the lead author of that report. We're delighted and fortunate to have her here with us as the co-host of the program today. And we'd like to share these findings, particularly with members from various urban local bodies who we were hoping to have more of here. But as Dr. Ahluwalia mentioned, this is one of the lessons we've learned, that sometimes perhaps to engage with members who are busy with various things, we probably need to go to them instead of always being able to expect them to come here. So that's a lesson well learned. The HPEC report analyzed India's urbanization and economic development challenges and made a number of salient recommendations, which you'll hear more of in a moment. These recommendations were about how to enhance urban investments in infrastructure, basic urban services, how to finance these investments, as well as provide for the maintenance of urban assets, improve service delivery in our cities of various sizes, and tackle the challenge of urban governance. A key part of the report's approach, aside from the innovative estimation work, was to draw upon a number of concrete case studies and examples of successful outcomes on the ground, and these insights from these shaped some of the recommendations about institutional reform that the report recommended. So the second objective builds on this approach. The second objective of today's workshop is to start from the findings of the HPEC report as well as its approach to do both rigorous analytical work as well as go to the field and learn from grounded insights. And what we want to do today is to see how we can learn from this and take it forward to the level of the states, particularly NCR, Delhi, and other states like this. So as you heard from Dr. Kathuria, ICRIER's Hudco Chair program is part of a wider initiative of research capacity building and knowledge dissemination on a variety of issues related to urbanization and the competitiveness of cities in India. And much of this work, as Dr. Kathuria pointed out, builds on the recommendations of these findings of the HPEC report. Now we want to use the Hudco Chair program, which I think offers to us an interesting opportunity to see how we can carry forward this work to the level of the states. And as I mentioned, and Dr. Baligar has expressed his interest in the past and has encouraged us and urged us to think about state-level HPEC work. So today, one of our objectives was to begin a conversation with members from various institutions engaged in urban development in Delhi to see how and in what ways we can carry this forward and apply it to the states. So I want to now invite Dr. Baligar, Chairman and Managing Director, Hudco, to say a few words to formally open the workshop, and then I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Ahluwalia to introduce the theme of the HPEC report, following which there'll be a presentation on the findings. Dr. Baligar.
Good morning to everybody. Dr. Ahluwalia, Professor Kathuria, and Professor Meenu Tiwari, and my colleagues from Hudco, and the young team from ICRIER. I would like to make one confession. I am not Dr. Baligar. I am not so fortunate to have done research. I am only an implementation man. But I believe that knowledge is very important, research is very important. Work or action without knowledge has no direction, no purpose. But knowledge without action also becomes of not much of use to the society. We need both. We need research, knowledge, and somebody to understand that knowledge and research, use it for action. I think especially in India, that link is missing. We need to strengthen that link. In that direction, Hudco thought of instituting the chair in research institutes of repute in India. And I would like to make one more confession. This Hudco chair itself is the creation of your chairperson. I remember, along with Dr. Mohanty, I was discussing with your chairperson of how to strengthen bond of Hudco with other research institutes. And Dr. Mohanty had given this idea. She was the one who told us how exactly it has to be done. I remember Dr. Krishnamurthy was discussing with me that we should give about 10 lakhs or something like that. Madam said 10 lakhs is not enough. Need to have minimum 20 lakhs, and immediately we increased it to 20 lakhs. She also guided us in what should be its component, and let me submit that we have been the beneficiaries of her guidance, and even in future we would like to see how best we can modify the guidelines if they're coming in the way. I was talking to Professor Tiwari. Let us know based on your experience how else we can simplify, how else we can speed up implementation or action-oriented research, and in general, what needs to be done to take Hudco chair to a next level of performance. Hudco has been in the field of housing and urban development for the last 43 years. Recently, based on direction from DPE, Department of Public Enterprises, we are earmarking certain funds for R&D. We have earmarked about 4 crores now for research. Part of that is Hudco chairs. We have already sanctioned 15 Hudco chairs all over the country, especially IITs and ICRIER, and then SPA and School of Planning. So many other reputed institutions have agreed to join hands with us. I've been telling Hudco that by this association, Hudco's stature will go up, Hudco's performance will go up, and we'll be the main beneficiaries. In turn, of course, our ULBs and society at large will be benefited by the knowledge that has been created here in research institutions. We also have fellowships, Hudco fellowships. I was just talking to Dr. Tiwari. If any of your students would like to work on any of the research project relevant to housing and urban development sector, we can sponsor a few fellowships. It is same as UGC, on par with UGC funding. So we'll be very happy to sponsor fellowships in ICRIER. We also have some R&D fund, not only Hudco chair. In addition to that, we are willing to support some of the projects. Other day I had an opportunity to interact with your chairperson, and she has readily suggested 1 or 2 subjects for research. Madam, we contacted the expert who is working on cover bonds. I think she has gone back to US now. She has said when she comes back here to India, first of all, I would like to listen to her also. Along with that, meanwhile, we can also consider that proposal on core bonds, because I think we need to look beyond what is available now for housing finance. We need to think of innovative ways of raising funds, and I'm sure we will be highly benefited by this research. Any other research proposal of ICRIER also we are willing to consider. Coming to HPC report, I would say the major beneficiary of this, of course, in addition to the ULBs, is going to be Hudco. I've been telling my officers that, look, we have been the main financing institution in the country. So far, we have done about 92,000 crore sanctions in the last 42 years. But last year, we have done about 15,000 crore sanctions, and releases could be about 5,000 to 6,000 crores. So the requirement is almost 2 lakh crores per annum. And that being the requirement, we need to see maybe about 40 to 50% may be raised by ULBs internally, but they do need 50 to 60% funding from outside the agencies. And I don't think there are many agencies in the country who are willing to fund the ULBs. One of the reasons is capacity. They don't, even if you give the money, ma'am, there's no capacity to implement. Only yesterday, our secretary was making a presentation to the Bangladesh team. Only about 55 to 60% of the funds have been utilized in 7 years, even though the Planning Commission and the Government of India had given huge money. So the main problem has been capacity at the urban local body level. And number of ULBs assisted under JNNU is also very limited. We have almost now 8,000 ULBs. Out of that, only few hundred ULBs have been assisted. Hudco has also now set up an innovation cell in Hudco, ma'am, and about 4 people, bright young people, are working on it. Yesterday, we had called Dr. Sam Petroda. He has again inspired our Hudco to think laterally and think innovatively. And this team has given us a big dream of, we call it Mission 5 Ones. We would like to do 1 million houses in a year. That is, now we are doing about 2 to 3 lakh houses per annum. And this year we may cross 500,000. And next year we would like to do 1 million houses. And we would like to release about 1 lakh crore cumulative releases by next year. We are about 82,000 crore now. This year we may do about 7,000 crores, and next year we would like to do more than 10,000 crores, so we would like to cross 1 lakh crore releases by next year end. We would like to also make profit of 1,000 crore. That is third one is PAT. Our profit after tax has to be around 1,000 crores. Now we are around 630 crores, so that we can grow and we can help more number of ULBs. Third one is 100 urban local bodies per annum. We are doing only about 20-25 urban local bodies as in today. This year we'll cross 50. We'll double what was done in previous years. And by next year, we would like to assist at least 100 ULBs, but there is scope to increase it many-fold in the coming years. And of course, we would like to maintain quality in our lending. So the last one in 5 months is 1% NPA. Our non-performing asset now is about 5 to 6%. We would like to bring it down to 1%. So in this innovation cell, we have also thought of innovative products. One of them is based on your report, ma'am, plus based on the CDPs that have been drawn by cities. We would like to select at least to begin with about 2 cities now, Ajmer and Gwalior we have selected, for complete funding of their needs. They have their own sources. They have state government funding. They also get some funding from Government of India. Whatever is the gap. Now, Hudco team is working. Only yesterday, our team had gone to Ajmer. I would like to see that every city thinks of its development. Like in Bangalore, under the chairmanship of Nandan Nilekani, we had set up Bangalore Agenda Task Force, BATF, way back in 2001, 2002. I was also part of it. That task force not only gives agenda for the city, also makes a public commitment. All the agencies involved in city development have to make a public commitment. This is what we're going to do in start with next 3 months, then 6 months, 1 year, and next 3 years. If the government has got 5 years, they will say next 5 years, this is what we are going to do for the city. So each agency, whether it is water supply, electricity, or civic amenities, or any other, even including central government agencies like telecom, almost every agency which is developing the infrastructure in the city has to make a public commitment of what they are going to do, so that even the newspaper used to write, okay, this was the commitment given last quarter, this is the achievement, so that there's some pressure on us to deliver. So delivery is also important. So Hudco now is trying to help Gwalior as well as the Ajmer city planners and city developers that, look, why don't you do this? And with that, maybe after learning some lessons from here, I would like to do that in every state. At least take 2 cities, understand their need, and then also Hudco will be in a position to give funding for the remaining infrastructures which have not been supported by the state government or the central government. Ma'am, your report has really opened the eyes of many of us, especially even at the highest level. Many chief ministers and even here ministers talk about your report, and the Government of India is also trying to do something about it. And Hudco in its own way will contribute in implementation of your report. And in addition to that, we would like to strengthen our relationship with ICRIER, with research projects, with fellowships, and even in remodeling our Hudco chair if necessary. And in any other way, if you want us to associate, we'll be very happy to do that. By that, I have been telling my people that our station will go up and we'll be in a better position to deliver. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baligar. You know, some things just have the right timing. I think it is really the Government of India's decision to set up a committee to look at urban infrastructure and services and give me the privilege to chair the committee, which started my education. And I've really acquired a lot of new friends. And sometimes I wonder, how could I have done so much research on industrial productivity, investment growth, etc., without looking at the spatial aspect of, you know, what that involves. And I think we as a tribe, economists, have been guilty of neglecting the spatial aspect of development. So we are now seizing this opportunity to bring urbanization at the very center of the learning on competitiveness and about sustainability. We are going to have a presentation on the report, so I do not want to stand between you and the presentation. What I will do is that in the course of the presentation that will be made by Ms. Tanushri Bhan, if there are any clarificatory points, please feel free to ask and I'll be happy to explain. But what I want to stress is that this report was originally presented to the two ministers, the Housing and Urban Development here. And then we've subsequently made presentations to 9 chief ministers at their invitation, beginning with the Maharashtra chief minister, who said that this subject is very close to my heart and I want to understand, and so I went there, and then one after the other the chief ministers have been asking, and that is extremely important because this report really has to be implemented together by Government of India and its agencies and state governments. It is too complex a job to be left only to one government. And I think for the National Capital Region, where we have asked you to come, and I was very happy to see the enthusiasm of Chief Secretary when he spoke to me. Now we'll have to make a separate presentation to him, because I do think that in the past 3-4 years, I have been avoiding Delhi.